Hello, Sunrise. Welcome to the Zapier Sunrise Action demonstration. So again, we're going to start from our Zapier dashboard. We're going to move to the left and select Make a Zap. And in this Zap that we are creating to demonstrate an action, I'm going to go ahead and start with a different application other than Sunrise. I'm going to go ahead and select the Zero app. It's another bookkeeping software. We are going to set up our trigger to be new contact. We'll click continue. We've got to log into our Zero account and we'll test our trigger. If you need any refreshers on setting up a trigger, please watch our demonstration video for triggers. And you'll see that I did indeed get returned a contact from my Zero application. And so I think I'm ready to go and set up my action. So the second step in our Zapier, it says to do this, and that is also our action step. So we're going to go ahead and select our Sunrise app here to start setting up an action, and we're going to choose an action event, and you'll see it's filed under something called create. So those two names are sort of interchangeable, action and create, and it does exactly what it sounds like it would do. So our trigger, whenever a new contact is created in Zero, we are going to do this. We're going to create something in our Sunrise application. And so for this demonstration, we are going to go ahead and compare apples with apples. And whenever I create a new contact in Zero, I'm also going to create a new contact in Sunrise. So we'll select create contact and click continue. I've got to log into my Sunrise account. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now I am here in the customize contact. And again, customize, and it'll be whatever object the action would be describing. In this case, we are creating an action contact. So I've got to select an organization that I'm going to create this new contact in. And this is a required field. So once again, as in our previous demonstrations, it is populating all of the organizations that I have associated with this user that I'm logged in as. So I'm going to go ahead and once again select this Lendio organization. And then there's another required field, and this one is called name. So this is going to be the first time in our demonstrations that we actually map some data, and we're going to see how that test object from our trigger app comes into play when setting up an action. So I'm going to select a name here, and I'm going to map a name from this new contact in order to create my contact in Sunrise. So I have a couple choices here. I could select name of the contact, which in this case is Nintendo, but if we had been using a different trigger, perhaps maybe the only thing that they provided was a first name and a last name of a contact person. And in that case, we could get a little creative too. We could actually select first and last. And so then the name that would be used to create our new contract in Sunrise would be first name Mario, last name Brother, and it would just be Mario Brother. But we won't map that value. We'll map the name value. And what this is saying is anytime a new contact is created in Zero, the field that comes back to us with name, and of course with each new contact, that name is going to be different. We're going to go ahead and map that to the name of the new contact that is to be created in our Sunrise app. This one says prevent duplicate contacts. To prevent a new contact from being created if one already exists by the same name, mark this as true. To create a new contact regardless, mark this as false. So essentially what this is saying, and it does default to true, is that if you would like to check this name, so in this case, Nintendo, if you want to check your Sunrise app and make sure you don't already have a contact by the name of Nintendo in there, go ahead and mark this as true. If you already do have a contact by the name of Nintendo, but let's throw caution to the wind, you want a new contact created in Sunrise anyway, you can mark that as false, but I would recommend marking that as true so you don't have unnecessary duplications. So the next one that we have to add is a street address. So let's go ahead and check out our data from our sample that we got back from 0. And let's see if there is a clear street address to map to. In this case, I actually don't see one. So for the sake of brevity, we'll move on. Let's see if there's a city in here that we can map to. And there is, address city. Let's see if there's a state to map to. Any state information here. So we're gonna skip that one as well. I did see something that would have worked. We could select country. The data field to map the new country context country default to the country associated with the selected organization. So we could look through our 0 information as well for a country, which I do see a country code. We could map it to there, or we could select from a list that is provided in our countries. So we could look for United States and select that. Or if we left that blank, it would default to the country that is associated with the organization that we selected, which in this case, I had selected the organization Lendio, and I believe that that is set to the United States of America as well. So we'll just leave it as USA, and you get the gist. You can map these values. So if we look for a website, there could be a value field for a website with their contact, and depending on what app initialized as your trigger will depend on what kind of data is available to map in your action. And so we could do a tax registration number even if the 0 contact trigger had sent something like that back. And then this is a list field for contact persons, which we won't get into now, but depending on the support of your trigger, you can even do line items, which is a type of data that can be returned by a trigger. So let's go ahead, none of these were required that we left blank. So let's go ahead and see if we can create a simple contact, and it will show us before we do, before we send our test data, it'll show us the fields and the values that we map to them. So let's go ahead and test and review this. And looks like it was a success. So this data object that was returned is from Sunrise. So we just created a new contact. Here's the new contact's ID. The type of contact it was by default was company. And the name of it was Nintendo, as we had provided the name. Country ID was US, we selected that. It says the city is Startown, which is also what we mapped. And so this was a successful action. So if we click Done Editing, it says your Zap is ready. Turn it on and try it out. So we could turn this Zap on, and forevermore, whenever we create a contact in our 0 application, a new contact would be created in Sunrise based off of those values that we mapped.